Hello and welcome to another video tutorial Monday. This week I'll be showing you how to use some of the new Papertrey Ink products that I got, including their wafer thin dies as well as their mini stamp set. This one that I wanted to use today is called Tagit's 1 stamp set designed by Heather Nichols. So the next one should be coming out shortly on the 14th at midnight. It's going to be released. So I figure I better use this one before then. So that's kind of where this card came from. I've also gotten several requests to use my Papertrey Ink things in video. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm going to do a lot of die cutting and I'm going to get it all out of the way at once. So I'm going to use this doily die from the Doily Details die collection. I'm going to be using this Fillable Frames scallop circle because it kind of matches up with the circle from this stamp set. And then I'm also going to punch out a 1 3/4 inch circle. And these are from the Limitless Layers 1 3/4 inch circle collection. And then I'll also be cutting out some buttons from the Buttoned Up collection. So I have pulled out every color of green that I have from Papertrey. Because I want to make a St. Patrick's Day card. So first of all, I have some Vintage Cream, Spring Moss, Simply Chartreuse, Ripe Avocado, New Leaf, and Pine Feather. And I'm just going to cut all of these out of every paper that I have, and then kind of, including this piece of really thin vellum that I have, I'm going to cut out several doilies from that. So I'm going to cut all these out. Okay, now that I have my machine all set up, I wanted to kind of go over dies. Maybe you don't have a die cutting machine or aren't familiar with this kind of die. Notice I can rub my finger over it. It doesn't hurt. There's no blade on here. It's just like a ridge, and it impresses into the paper and actually crushes the paper fibers. So it leaves a clean impression, and these work great. I love it. And you can use these in the Big Shot, the Cuttlebug. Pretty much any die cutting system that you have will work for this, especially if it's any of the newer ones. So I just have all my tabs down on my platform. I use both my cutting mats, and I'm just going to start out with the vellum first. And on the vellum, I'm just going to be cutting out. Actually, we'll do the vellum next. I'll start with this green, and I'm just going to line out my die there. We have this button die, and then we have these 2 circle dies. And you can put as many dies as you want as long as they fit on. And notice I cut down my paper to 5.5 inches wide. This way it fits well on the platform, and it gives me plenty of wiggle room. So now that I have everything stacked up, I'm just going to roll it through. It takes a little bit of pressure, but it doesn't hurt your arm by any means. Okay, and I'm just gonna, you don't need to roll it back, but I'm going to roll it back because it'll be easier for me to take out. And then we have our wonderful die cuts. So we have that, the scallop, and the doily. And I've come to realize that the doilies and the buttons have these great little holes in here, which make it great for punching out the little pieces. I can just use one of my tools here and go through and pop out all of these little circles even before I take it out of the die plate. I have been using just like a glue dot to pick it up off the plate. I'll show you with these button dies. There's no place to actually physically pop out the button itself. You can just pop out the button hole. So what I do is get a glue dot on my finger and kind of roll it up, and then stick it down on the paper and pull up. If I can get it to come up. There we go. And you can see, then you can reuse this glue dot several times. And it rips off a little bit of the paper, but it's on the back, so it doesn't really matter. So that's the easiest way I've found to do this. If anyone has any tricks for me, tricks and hints, that would be great. Because like a border die you'd be able to bend and have it pop out, but these aren't really bendable. So yeah, that's how I get those out. So I'm going to go ahead and die cut everything, and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I've cut out all of my pieces. I have my doilies in all 4 of my colors, my scallop circles in all 5 of my colors, or 6, all 6 of my colors, and then a various assortment of buttons, circles, and vellum cut out. I certainly won't be using all of this on one card, but here's where I'm kind of going with this. I have this piece that's cut out so that it'll make a 1/4 inch mat around the card. And what I want to do is place these around something like this on the card, and then have the vellum overlay with them, but just slightly off, so they kind of create patterns and things like that. And then I'll trim them off around this edge so that the edge will be nice and clean. So I'm going to attach these just using some regular adhesive. I'm just going to attach this round part. Not going to worry about the edges, and then I will attach these with maybe a brad or something. I don't know. I'll be back to figure that out. Okay, so I have my doilies adhered, and I've been playing around with the vellum, and I'm just not sure how I feel about it. So I think I might save these doilies, these vellum doilies, for another card, and I can just whip one up simple and easy and have these prepared already. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is stamp my sentiment circle and my sentiment. And then, as I mentioned before, this is from the Tag It's 1 stamp set, so I'm just going to bring out my mouse pad for a little extra bounce. And I'm using some seed packet ink from Jenny Bolin Studios and the circle frame. And here's where having a punch this size would come in handy, but I, however, do not have one, so we're just going to try and line it up the best we can, and we have 2 tries. So, okay. Alright, I'd say that's pretty good. Pretty centered, so I'm happy with it. And then what I'm going to do is just stamp this "It's Your Lucky Day" in the middle of it. There we go. So we have this nice sentiment stamped. Oh, I just love it. It's so cute. I love the combination of fonts that Heather used in this stamp set. So now we just have to figure out how we want to adhere to the card. I think I'm going to stack it on this die cut using some foam adhesive. There we go. And, okay, so my card's going to look like this. I'm trying to figure out where I should put it. I'm thinking what I want to do is have some ribbon go across here, and then, or wherever I put my sentiment, and then have this be kind of like the bow. So maybe I even might have a tail hanging out. I'm going to run these corners. And I'm also going to sponge the edge of this just with the seed packet die and a foam applicator. I guess I'm too lazy to put on the blending tool. Oh dear. Okay, so I have that inked, and I'm going to tie my ribbon around it first. I think I'm going to use this wide satin ribbon. I believe it's 7/8 inch wide. I'm going to have it go across the top, just right here, and wrap around the edges. So I'm just going to cut it first and add adhesive to the ends of it. This way I don't have to worry about any of the adhesive showing through to the front. Okay, so I have that adhered, and I think this would be a great place I think this would be a great place to put the ribbon, and before I do that though, I want to make a little ribbon tail. Just like it was an award ribbon or something. And I'm going to tape that to the back. Just with some, I'll use this, not my fabric scissors. Okay, so I have my foam adhesive and some glue dots on the back, just to really make sure it sticks. I'm going to stick it down right about here, and then I think we're ready to adhere it to the card. So I'm just going to add some ATG on the back. I think what I'm going to do is just add some stitching around this corner, and in my typical fashion, as always, just going to punch 5 holes up each side. There we go. Actually, I'll punch 2 more up this side to add to that balance of vertical versus horizontal. And I'm just going to stitch it up with some off-white thread, and I'll be back to show you the finished card. Okay, and here's the finished card. I added the stitching up the side and sponged around the edges, and I think this is just a really cute, fun way to say Happy St. Patrick's Day and use every color of green that you own. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Here's a picture of the finished card, and here's a close-up. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you again next week on Video Tutorial Monday.